Welcome to video podcast number 24. I said I wasn't going to predict the length of my video podcast because you know me, I like to rant and ramble. But I guarantee you that this video podcast is going to be less than 30 minutes or less. Because if it was to go longer, that would involve me repeating and reiterating and rehashing content I've already expressed in my previous video podcast. First, as always, I want to say if you want to give me public feedback, below, comment section below. Private feedback, you can write me through my personal page or public page on Facebook, or you can write me at YouTube at mode1.net, MODEONE.net. Always a shout out to those who have submitted financial donations to me via Patreon page. I appreciate all of you all for financially supporting me, as well as those few that have sent me donations via PayPal. I very much appreciate you. And of course, my biggest appreciation is for those who have purchased one or more of my ebooks, one or more of my paperbacks, and one or more of my audiobooks, as well as those who I've done email consultations with, Skype and telephone consultations with, and one-on-one face-to-face dating coaching sessions with. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to fly out to LA once again. I call that my second home, Los Angeles. I'm getting ready to fly out there on a couple days to work with a couple of clients for one-on-one face-to-face coaching sessions. Let me get my vitamin water plug. Vitamin Water Zero. The best non-sugar beverage you could ever drink in your life. Yes. Love this stuff. Love this stuff. Excuse me. Now, you know I've been tripping. As you know, this is only the third time in my life I sported a goatee. Normally, I just tend to sport a mustache. I've never sported a full beard. So yeah, most of the time I either sport a clean shaven look or just a mustache. And typically when I change my look, whether it's my hair, my facial hair, etc., I usually get the most comments and compliments from women. But a lot of guys, man, been giving me compliments on my goatee, man. It must be a man thing. Men must love the goatee look. Because, man, ever since I've been sporting my goatee for the third time in my life, yeah, I've been getting a lot of, not only from my Mode 1 followers, but from other close friends and guys I knew, known since like high school or college. They like, man, Alan, I like that goatee look, man. You look smooth with that goatee, man. You look hard, man. I like that shit. Y'all crack me up. But no, like I said, I don't want this one to be too long. Here's the thing. As you know, man, over the last, I don't know, a week or so, I want to say, I've had my share of drama and beefs with other people and other YouTube hosts. And I always hear outside noises. Now I'm hearing a jet plane flying over my place. Anyway, I was on another guy's YouTube podcast channel on Saturday afternoon. And I mentioned, I think, either my very last video podcast, number 23, or if not 23, number 22. Yeah, I think starting with video podcast number 22, which was men feeling entitled to date only beautiful women. That was video podcast number 22. Well, really, things started with Video Podcast 21 when I told a lot of you guys to stop whining and complaining. That's what kind of started a lot of stuff off. And then 22, I talked about men feeling entitled to date only 8, 9s, and 10s. And then finally, my last video was about a lot of you guys don't want to accept the harsh realities of dating, and I touched on the 141-page manifesto written by that serial killer / bitter misogynist Elliot Rodger. I was just, as you know, I check out a lot of other people's podcasts in addition to doing my own video podcast. And my good fellow author and friend, even though I've never met him in real life, but he was one of the first ones I connected with in the manosphere. And that's, I've said this before, Ron Wills. Yeah, Ron Wills was probably one of the first people I became familiar with. Matter of fact, yeah, the first 2 people I became familiar with that wrote books about, along the lines of dating advice was Michael Baisden, who went on to become a very popular radio personality. I would almost arguably say he might have been the first. Michael Baisden. Then right after him, I became familiar with Ron Wills. And then a little later, I became familiar with Tariq Nasheed. The reason I paid attention to those 3 is because they had self-published books. And I was looking to self-publish an ebook because I didn't want to go through traditional publishing, because when you go through traditional publishing, they end up owning the rights to your content and your material. I didn't want anybody owning the rights to my stuff. So I was looking for authors that did 2 things. When I first was getting started, I was looking for authors, particularly African-American authors, who wrote about stuff to do with male-female relationships, dating advice type books, and secondly, more specifically, those who had self-published books. And again, the 3 people I came across was Michael Baisden, Ron Wills, and Tariq Nasheed. Anyway, Ron Wills had a video podcast just this morning where he talked about how he's never experienced what's known in the manosphere as red pill rage. And as you know from my last few video podcasts, I've essentially said the same thing. Even though I know a lot of guys in the manosphere, and particularly the guys who I refer to as beta males, have experienced red pill rage. But anyway, to get to the point of these recent, comments towards me and criticisms and whatnot, it's not a lot of guys, so I don't want it to sound like it's like this large majority of guys, but there's a small faction of guys. Basically, it started with this. The most recent thing, this other video podcast host, he expressed this mild criticism towards me that essentially he feels like I'm trying to play, as they say, trying to play both ends from the middle. He basically feels like I'm trying to almost simultaneously be pro-MGTOW, but I'm expressing criticisms that make me seem anti-MGTOW. The truth of the matter is, as far as the MGTOW, for those of you ignorant to that, I know some people are, and particularly my female listeners and viewers, that stands for men going their own way. And there's generally 2 factions of MGTOW, even though I mentioned in the previous podcast that one guy, he even added a 3rd faction. The main faction of guys who are MGTOW is guys who just choose not to interact with women, period. They don't want any social interaction with women. Basically, they want to be voluntarily asexual. That would be the main faction of MGTOW guys. Then the secondary faction of MGTOW guys is guys who are no longer interested in marriage, no longer interested in long-term monogamous relationships with women, and no longer interested in impregnating women and having children with women, but they will indulge in short-term and or non-monogamous casual sex with women, particularly if the women themselves initiate the interactions with them. So that's the secondary faction of MGTOW. And then this third faction of MGTOW, which I didn't know about until somebody who watched my videos posted about it. He said there's a third faction of MGTOW, which is guys who are similar to that second faction. They will engage in short-term and or non-monogamous casual sex with women, but not only will they wait for women to initiate contact with them, but they will do the initiating many times. Now, to me, that third category, this is just my own opinion, that doesn't sound like MGTOW. I mean, because if you're going to still initiate social interactions with women and initiate conversations with women, how is that you representative of you going your own way? I don't understand that. I mean, because shoot, if that, I'll say this, if that third faction is valid, then in many ways I'm MGTOW myself. I mean, because I'm not the biggest fan of marriage. I'm not the biggest fan of strict monogamy. And I don't know if I would say I'm anti-children. You know, I would still be open to having a child with a woman. But, so, you know, anyway, here's the deal, man. I think I've already expressed this. Number one, I'm neither a MGTOW enthusiast, nor am I a MGTOW hater or harsh critic. If that's what guys choose to do, that's what guys choose to do. See, as I mentioned in one of the comment section on somebody else's channel, here's when I started attracting a lot of MGTOW types to me, is when I came out with my book, The Possibility of Sex. Because when I came out with Mo 1, I don't really recall attracting too many MGTOW types. When I came out with Ooh, Say It Again, I don't remember attracting too many MGTOW types. But when I came out with my book, The Possibility of Sex, and then later last year when I came out with The Beta Male Revolution, that is when I began to attract a lot of MGTOW type guys. Because a lot of guys viewed both of those books as MGTOW oriented books, particularly The Possibility of Sex. And the reason why is because, see, a lot of MGTOW types, for better or for worse, they like to slam women. They like to slam women's behavior. And if there's one book I have that does harshly slam a lot of women's behavior, is The Possibility of Sex. That's the book where I highlight how deceitful a lot of women are, how insincere a lot of women are, how highly manipulative and misleading a lot of women are, how materialistic a lot of women are, and how a lot of women will get into relationships, long-term relationships and marriages, but then turn around and cheat on their boyfriends or commit adultery on their husbands. So I guess a lot of MGTOW types, you know, they were really feeling that book. They really loved. Like I had at least a handful of MGTOW types. They called that one of the best MGTOW related books that they've ever read. Was my book, The Possibility of Sex. How naive and lustful men are manipulated by women regularly. And again, the Beta Male Revolution, to a somewhat far lesser extent, it has kind of, I would say, a lot of content in it that I could see easily appealing to MGTOW types and MRA types, men's rights movement types. So that's how I feel like it. Now, see, the thing that's been going on in the last week and a half or so is that because I've been expressing a lot of harsh criticisms towards a lot of men are looking at me as some type of turncoat. Like Alan he's being a traitor. Now it seems like he's trying to play up to women, and he's trying to appeal to both men and women. He's not as harshly critical of women as we thought he was. We thought he was one of us. We thought he was one of our own. We thought he was one of them guys who doesn't hesitate to, you know, harshly criticize women call out their fuckery. And see, and again, I think I expressed this either in my last video podcast or the video podcast prior. If you've done your research on me and you kept up with me, say, since the early 2000s, when I first came out with my ebook in late 2001, then I came out with my first paperback in 2006. That's never been my MO. That has never been my MO. I'm a very objective brother. Objective man, I should say. I'm very objective. And what I mean by that is that, and again, let's see this, I feel like I'm repeating myself. I criticize the flaws and weaknesses of both genders. I don't exclusively focus on the flaws and weaknesses of women, and I don't exclusively focus on the flaws and weaknesses of men. I focus on both. Like if you read my original book, Mo 1 was far more a criticism of men's behavior than it was of women. Like if there was at least one type of guy I criticized in my original book, Mo 1, is guys who mislead women to believe that they want to engage in long-term monogamous sex when they really know deep down that they just want short-term non-monogamous sex. I'm very critical of that. I don't have any respect for guys who do that shit. My attitude is, if you want short-term and or non-monogamous sex from a woman, then you need to have the balls to just straight up tell women that shit, instead of playing games with them and trying to trick them into having sex with you. So that's what Mo 1 was all about. As far as a criticism towards one gender or the other, Mo 1 was a criticism of men. It was a criticism of men for not having the balls to tell women what they really want from them. Tell women why they really want to share their company. That's what it means to be Mo 1. Mo 1 is when you confidently, unapologetically, and straightforwardly let women know in your very first conversation with them, why did you initiate a conversation with them? Why you have an interest in socializing with them? And why you really have an interest in sharing their company in a one-on-one manner in the short run, long term, or both. That's what Mo 1 is all about. Then Who Said Again is focuses more on the concept of verbal seduction. How to use a combination of the quality of your voice and your overall conversation skills and confidence to seduce women and get them sexually aroused without even touching them. You can say that's my specialty, is that I know how to get women's pussies wet before I even kiss them or before I even touch them. I will have a woman dripping wet. And I know how to teach other men how to do that. So that's what my book, Who Said Again, is about. And then, like I said, Possibility of Sex, that was probably the first book I came out with that really slammed the female gender. I would say more specifically, it slammed the manipulative members of the female gender. Because I don't believe all women are manipulative. I don't believe all women are deceitful and misleading. But there's definitely a good percentage of them that are dishonest, insincere, misleading, manipulative, materialistic, adulterous. And then the Beta Male Revolution, that was more so my book kind of giving a brief history of how dating rituals have changed, how dating rituals were before the 1960s and how they've been since the mid-1970s, because they've been totally different. But again, see, now I'm already at 20 minutes. I don't want to keep this. I want to keep this relatively short. Here's the basic deal, man. And again, I've said this. Go back in my early video podcast. If you've already watched them, watch them again. But here's the basic deal. And Ron Wills touched on this in his own way in his video this morning. Shout out to Brother Wills. He basically said the reason why he's never experienced red pill rage is because at an early age, he was exposed to women's true nature. And he just accepted women for who they truly are. Not who he wanted them to be, or wished them to be, or hoped that they would be, but who they really were. And see, if you've been paying attention to my video podcast on my channel, remember I did a whole video podcast where I said every species has its nature. Every species. A male dog, which is simply known as a dog, has its nature. Female dog, which is known as a bitch, has its nature. Snakes have their nature. Lions have their nature. Zebras have their nature. Mosquitoes have their nature. Spiders have their nature. Ants have their nature. Bees have their nature. I can go on and on and on. Now, if we could understand the language that animals and insects communicate in, do you think like male lions go around bitching about the lioness's behavior? Do you really think they do that? Do you think male zebras go around bitching about the behavior of the female zebras? Do you think male dolphins go around bitching about the behavior of the female dolphins? Do you? If you really do, comment below. Comment below for me. I want you to comment below if you really believe that. If you really believe that, like the male ants in their own language be bitching about the behavior of the female ants. Or the male gorillas be bitching about the behavior of the female gorillas. This shit don't happen, man. I'm sure in their own way they might get frustrated here and there by the behavior of the opposite sex. But for the most part, man, see, here's the deal. The thing that makes humans different, and you know I talk about this multiple times. See, where we're different from a lot of other species, man, is that we apply social programming to our behavior. See, with human beings, you have our core behavior, and then you have our parents, other influential people in our life, and society in general that applies different layers of social programming. And see, that's what causes a lot of you men to complain about women and you women to complain about men. Is because when you run across somebody who's exhibiting behavior that doesn't adhere to your brand of social programming, you get pissed off. You get pissed off. But that ain't women's fault. If you're a man and if you're a woman, that ain't men's fault. We are who we are, man. Men are who at their core. Men are who they are, and at their core, women are who they are. Period. See, because your mommy and daddy told you that men were going to act this way and that way, and then when you ran across some guys that didn't act that way, you now pissed off. You saying, damn, my mother and father told me men were going to bring me flowers on the first date and bring me a Hallmark card and be totally faithful to me. That's because they were trying to apply social programming to you. Then you men said, hey, I was taught that all women were prudish and strictly monogamy oriented, and if you put a ring on their finger that they would be forever faithful to you. That was somebody applying social programming to your head. That wasn't real shit, man. You think street pimps ever whine and complain about women? No. Because I said in one of my previous video podcasts, among other different types of guys, street pimps, man, are guys who recognize women's true nature, man. They know women's true nature. I've done at least 2 videos on women's true nature, man. Men have their true nature. Here's the basics of human beings, man. We want food and water. We want sex. We want shelter from harsh weather conditions. We want to protect ourselves from physical harm and imminent danger. We want to provide and protect for our offspring. And we want rest, sleep. And there might be 1 or 2 other basic desires I'm forgetting at the moment. But those are the basic desires we have, man. That's your core, man. And some of you guys, I have to tell you repeatedly, man, when it comes to women, man, women who are going to fuck who they want to fuck. If a man gets their pussy wet, they're going to fuck that guy. unless their social programming is so strong that it gives them justifiable reasons to resist a man who turns them on sexually. Same with a man. The only time a man is gonna be strictly monogamous is if his social programming is so strong that he has enough justifiable reasons in his head to resist the sex appeal of a woman that's not his wife, fiance, or long-term girlfriend. Matter of fact, my next video after I come back from Los Angeles is going to be a paid content video about wholesome pretenders. And that's the basic nature of wholesome pretenders, man. I'm not going to go into detail because you guys are going to have to pay for my detailed information. But in a nutshell, the nature of the archetype of women I call wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites, you have some women who strictly adhere to their social programming. I would call those your quote-unquote good girls, your prudish, strictly monogamy-oriented good girls. Then on the very opposite end, there's women who don't even attempt to adhere to social programming. That's your women who are openly promiscuous, openly polyamorous, and they don't give a fuck who criticizes them about it or passes judgment on them. And then right in between, you got women who have these, what I call these internal battles. Those are your wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites. In other words, figuratively speaking, they got the angel in their voice that says, adhere to your social programming. And they got the little devil on the other shoulder saying, go ahead and give in to your true nature. And it's a fight for them with every guy. It's a fight. All women have their true nature, man. All women have their true nature. All men have their true nature. All species have their true nature. I'm almost at a half hour. So I just wanted to reiterate that, man. So yeah, man, to sum up, man, I'm neither pro MGTOW, I'm not any type of specific MGTOW enthusiast, but again, I'm not a hater of MGTOW or a harsh critic of MGTOW. My thing is, if men want to do what they want to do, but the reason why I told a lot of you guys, including a lot of you MGTOW types, to stop whining and complaining is because you guys are acting like women don't have their true nature. And they do. I don't even understand why you guys don't understand that. Why you can't comprehend that. Again, just think about animals, man. Male chimpanzees don't go around bitching about the true nature of female chimpanzees. See, you guys bought into a lot of delusional fantasies that have fucked you up. You guys bought into a lot of blue pill, idealistic thinking that fucked you up. You got to understand, man, at our core, man, we're animals, man. A lot of you don't like to accept that, but we are, man. At our core, we're fucking animals. We're extremely intelligent animals. We're extremely articulate animals. We're very industrious and resourceful animals, but at our core, we are fucking animals, man. You better recognize that shit. Hashtag my true nature. Hashtag my true nature. Recognize your true nature and accept the true nature of women, man. We are sexual human beings. We are sexual human beings, man. Remember that. Keep that in mind. And I guarantee you, the more you recognize the true nature of both genders, and the more you accept the reality of the nature of both genders, the less whining and complaining you will do the rest of your adult life. I'm out. Enjoy your week. I'll talk to you guys sometime next week after I return from Los Angeles. Peace.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1. Get her go, please. You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.